here. What's up, guys? As you can see, Platinum Hog. This is I have reviewed Rich before on my YouTube channel, but never on stream. And that was a long time ago. Had to be during like season 8 or something like that. That was like maybe the first VOD review I ever did, maybe? Anyway. Or maybe, no, it had to be earlier than that if it was the first one I did. It had to be way earlier than that. Maybe like season 5 or 6 or something. Anyway, that was when I first started dipping my toe into coaching. But yeah, so we're gonna come full circle and review Rich C again. This time it's on Hog. Last time it was Reinhardt. But yeah, so we're gonna do that. So we're gonna get started. I'm gonna give everyone a chance to get in here. Sorry, we started like a minute or two late here. I was running around with my hair, like my hair was on fire doing stuff. All right. Let's let's just get into it.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Is anything too loud? I messed around with sound settings a little bit. Wondering if anything was too loud. Okay, so I don't really give a crap about team comps in Platinum. I just don't care. I mean, listen, to a certain extent, like yes, like 6 DPS is gonna be rough or whatever, but you got 2 healers, tanks, and then your lone DPS, whatever. This is fine. This is fine. And it's actually not a terrible combo of tanks. Nor is it's actually not a bad team comp. The only thing that's a little out of place is a Symmetra, but Symmetra's always a little out of place. There's never really a team comp where I'm like, oh man, Symmetra really fits here. You could make her work in a bunker with Bastion and stuff and teleport around. I don't know. I don't know what people do with Symmetra these days. Alright, but I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about team comps in Plat. You got tanks, you got supports, awesome. Make it work. It's gonna come down to in Platinum, it's just really gonna come down to which team works better together. Just be on the same page with your teammates. Whatever your teammates are doing, I mean, this is like a generic tip, but like whatever your teammates are doing, do your best to prop them up, even if they're doing something you don't necessarily agree with, like maybe going Torb in a weird spot. Do your best to play around them, work with them, and you'll probably just win, because Platinum is just going to be the teams that work the best work the best together win. Rissy's here? Alright, good. We didn't really say anything other than I don't give a shit about team comps and Plat.
Alright, put the shield on the left side of the middle column. You would try to avoid the high ground, we can just pull from it.
So right off the bat, I do like, you've always been vocal, but I've told you this in the past, about like trying to get everyone on the same page. Like I said, it doesn't really matter on Platinum if what you're doing is technically the right thing, as long as you're all on the same page. These other 6 idiots are going to be running around on the other team. These other 6 idiots on the red team here are going to be running around with their hair on fire. It's just going to be chaos. If you guys are committing to doing the same thing together, and Plat is gonna be fine. It doesn't really matter if you're like, oh, I don't know if this is really the best spot to set up. As long as you all commit to it at a 6, it's gonna be better than what they have. They are idiots. Yeah. Alright. So I like that. But it ends up being like one of the lone 1 or 2 times in the VOD that you really plan something before it happened. Maybe I'm not giving you enough credit. Maybe it happens a little bit more than that. Maybe a little more than once or twice. I know for a fact there's one other time that happens at least. But even then, it's not really a plan, more so as it is like, hey, we're gonna set up here. That's like what you're trying to do, right? Because you're like, yeah, we'll just pull them off the high ground. That's cool. That's fine. I mean, you don't really know what they have, so you don't know if they even have stuff that's going to be set up on the high ground, so it's a little bit of a crapshoot trying to plan a fight before it happens when you don't know what they have. But, whatever. At least you're trying to commit to something, right? I'm losing my train of thought here. Anyway, Anyway, it's one of the lone times that you do that, and it's one of the things I want to talk about in the VOD is not really planning things in advance. And even then, it's a little shallow. It's just like, hey, we're gonna set up here, and then after that, it's like, well, the biggest thing I noticed with this VOD is that every single fight just breaks down into complete and utter chaos, and that's what I want to try and fix. I want to try and address that. You feel higher ground knows the shield. Yeah. Yeah, you want to take that advantage away from the enemy hit scan. Yeah. You don't want them to get the angle over the shield or to just have... When you're on the high ground... Oh god, that's a terrible head. Not a circle at all. That's kind of a circle. When you're on the high ground up here, and you're like, hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah, brother. I got a big gun. If an enemy starts to shoot at you, even though it looks like there's no cover around, all you have to do is walk backwards. And if you walk backwards, all of a sudden... Now you're like this. That's your gun sticking out. That's the top of your head. And the rest of your body is like, you know, here, but you're so far back that a person on the bottom just isn't going to have the line of sight, basically. So if you start taking damage, the advantage is you can just move backwards. And it's a much tougher shot for them than it is for you, because you're looking down on them. Anyway. Conceding the high ground is fine, because it's realistically it's going to be too tough for you guys to get the high ground established anyway. You gotta assume that they have a Lucio even beforehand, because you just don't know. So it's better to just assume. Because you don't, and you're not going to be able to take that aggressive positioning. Anyway, that's a little advanced stuff. But let's move on. Let's actually hit play on the VOD, shall we? Alright, you got nothing better to do, so we're just going to shoot the shield, that's fine. Hanzo just damaged you and was like, yo, I'm over here! So we're gonna... that's a terrible arrow. Dude, my drawings are shit. Alright. This was the very first moment that I was like, alright, wait, this is a little weird. You shoot here, and you have an opportunity. You know Hanzo's over there because you just took a shot on your left shoulder. You know where... without even seeing it, you know where he is. That's why you immediately turn to that spot. You know he's on the stairs right there, right? There's a bunch of times in this VOD where you don't take opportunities where you absolutely could to reload. And sometimes it leaves you with like half a clip to start a duel. Okay, so you got two. But now you're like, okay, well, Hanzo shot me over here. I'm going to go over here. But you're engaging with the two. Now, in this downtime where you're sitting here doing nothing, you could reload, wait, get 5, then go around the corner, and then get the hook. Because it's just better to start duels with a full clip. I know this is kind of like a... Wow, that's really nitpicky. But it becomes more clear. Like, this is kind of a nitpicky situation, because you get the hook and whatever, and you're like, oh, well, you just want to get him before he gets behind cover. So you get the hook kill. But it becomes more prevalent as the game goes on, that you're very reluctant to reload. You felt his shot. Yeah, right. You know, like, okay, I got shot in the left shoulder, the only spot he could possibly be is there. Or, like, on the other side, but the game gives you an indicator of where damage is coming from. And this is, like, true of, like, almost all shooters. They almost all do this. It's like, game's like, yo, it was this way. That's what all this crap is. And you know that that's the only way. You would have seen it come from this way. You know it has to be that way. The only other spot it could be is here, but it was kind of obvious that it was there. Alright. I know I'm kind of throwing things hot and fast, but I like to set it up and tell you all the things I saw. This way, when they happen throughout the VOD, you can be like, oh, there's that thing again. After you land a hook... Alright, well, first off, let's back up to before you even throw the hook. After you land the hook, your movement gets a little erratic, and you're not necessarily... You end up... What I mean by erratic is that you'll hook someone, and then, like, you'll still keep strafing a little bit, like, side to side, side to side, whatever. You kind of move forward, back, whatever. You're still kind of spamming keys. You need to, like, when you hook someone, you need to, like, stop moving for a second to really, like, you know, stop, because you're all the while when you're doing that, your crosshair is moving side to side, right? And that makes it so that your crosshair is floating around, and then all of a sudden at the last second you gotta flick and shoot. It's better to just kind of stop, to chill for a second, then move forward. Like, then as the hook is pulling in, move forward and shoot. Gotta take advantage of moving and reloading time window. Check. Yeah. Right. There's a small time window there where you can reload. That's a small mistake. And like I said, it seems nitpicky, but it's more prevalent as the game goes on, and sometimes you're reluctant to take those. You know, when I talk about in my Reinhardt reviews where I'm like, oh, you're not taking the opportunity that you have to recharge your shield. It's kind of the same thing. When there's a small window of opportunity where there's nothing going on and you can get away with ducking on cover for a second and then reloading, and then come back out with either a full clip or a full shield or whatever, it's kind of the same. Because that's almost wasted time where you're just kind of moving and doing nothing. I mean, yes, you're getting around the corner and that's a thing, but you could also during that time reload. Because now if you miss this shot, or if you hook him in, let's say you hook him in, shoot, doesn't kill him, right? And then you miss the second shot, well, now you gotta awkwardly reload and he's getting away, or he's shooting you, or he's whatever, right? So it might not seem like much, but if you don't one-shot him here, it becomes an issue. Third problem, here's the second problem, where, look, you're moving around too much. Okay, well, actually, it wasn't really as big of an issue there. Yeah, you're kind of moving straight forward there. This one's, maybe I'll catch it on a different clip then. But the other thing is, look at the crosshair placement when you pull them in. You're constantly aiming center mass, and Hog is very tricky to reliably one-shot with. You gotta pull each enemy, like, different enemies are different because their hitboxes are different. Like, some enemies are harder than others to reliably one-shot. But in most cases, you're gonna want to go for, like, the head or neck area. Not totally the head, because the shotgun is gonna have a spread pattern that's like that, right? And, well, it's a little tighter than that up close. It's a cone, right? So, say if your gun is here, it's a weird-ass gun, but whatever. Say if your cone is here, right? The further it goes out, the more it expands. So if it goes, you know, it expands more. But if the enemy's point blank to you, the grouping is going to be better, because if the enemy's here, then the grouping is pretty tight. So you want to go not totally for the head, because it won't be tight enough, and some of the pellets will miss around. If his head is here, some of them will miss around. But you want to go, like, a little higher with your crosshair and put it, like, in his neck area, because the top pellets will hit the head, and the bottom ones won't miss, and even some of the side ones will just hit shoulder. There's more area, but you'll get some headshots in there. And it's gonna that's gonna do more damage. And that's the easier way to reliably one-shot. Neckish up torso. Yeah. Neck is usually, like, ideal.
Hug is slipping, help.
Okay. You see how everything just kind of devolves into, like, look at this fight, right? And this isn't necessarily your fault, but it's just an example of something I showed you about how platinum can be, like, look, like, here, just, like everything's just kind of, like, the Hanzo was, like, over there for some reason. Like, it's just so chaotic. So everything kind of devolves into a brawl at any given time.
Listen.
I want to talk about also Peel for a second. I know I'm throwing a lot of things at you, but like I said, I'm just laying the groundwork so that later on I can be like, hey, here's that situation again.
Hug is slipping, help.
Alright, so you come over and you're helping your backline, because, excuse me, Doom's all over it. You don't have your hook yet, so you can't hook him.
Sleeping, help.
Watch the hook cooldown. Watch the hook cooldown. You basically got it back at the same time you killed him, right? But when Winston jumps in, you have it. And I'm gonna argue that even though you get the kill in Winston, it would be better in those situations to use the hook to kill him. Alright. So he's jumping in. He lands directly on your mini diva, right? That's gonna do like 45 damage or so. And then if he threw in a punch, then 75. But I don't think he does. And then all the while he's gonna be zapping the diva. If you hook him, it's gonna make the kill easier because you're gonna pull him in close and be able to get that reliable headshot. With Winston, you just want to put it on his face because with tanks, with Winston, his head, like say this is his body, he hunches over. This is his head. So like if you aim it at his head, even if the pellets miss, they still hit body because his head kind of tucks in, like it kind of hunches in like this. So it's different for each hero. There's actually a guide that you should watch on YouTube about how to reliably one-shot each hero and like where you should aim. But it's a little different for each hero. Torb is kind of like that too, where he hunches in and you can kind of just hit him in the center mass, or not the center mass, but the head, without bothering with the neck. But it kind of is different with each hero, and it's just something you gotta pick up as you go. Anyway, the hook is used to secure picks, right? But it's also used for peel. And right now, this diva needs peeling bad. Because, I mean, it's not the end of the world if she dies. She just comes back with her mech, and it might even be better. But, for argument's sake, let's just say this, it really matters if this diva survives or not. It's 5 minutes. It's a 5-minute video. Just type in Hog one-shot guide into YouTube or something like that. It's a 5-minute video. But do that after my stream, obviously. Don't do that now. Maybe I'll post that in my Discord. But yeah, you want to use it for peel and to interrupt, because let's watch this play out. Watch how all the while he's doing damage to your diva. There's like a second or two. There's like maybe like a second there where he's trying to get a little bit more zap damage to finish off the diva because she's probably pretty low. And yes, while you do get the kill pretty easily because he's stuck in here because he used his sleep to get in, there's nowhere he can go for another 4 or 5 seconds. And you're like, yeah, I can definitely get him without using the hook. It's better to just use the hook, because you're gonna stop him from, because that stun is going to stop him from doing damage, and it's gonna allow your diva to get away. That extra brief 1 second where she can just get away from him, it's gonna be a big deal. Also, it's going to stop him from doing damage and generating his ult, which doesn't necessarily matter because your healers will get ult charge off of it too. But yeah, it's going to stop him from being able to get the kill. So you want to use it for peel and interrupt. Also, you want to use it to interrupt things like ultimates, cooldowns, like Hogs take a breather. You use hook to cancel that, and things like that. Anything channeled. But yeah, so there are times when even if you can secure a kill without the hook, there are times when you should still use it, just because it's going to help a teammate because you're peeling for them. Okay, this would be an easy hook too. She just like bunny hopped over your hook. A little unfortunate. Not the end of the world. You could also argue that, even though I said you should have used your hook, okay, let's assume that, whatever, Winston died, and forget about that for a second. You could argue that now that your hook is up, you should just save your hook and wait for the Mercy to try a res and then hook her when she's like sitting more or less still. But just going for the kill. I mean, this is a cleanup situation. It doesn't really matter. So I don't want to harp on anything that happened right there. You're gonna miss some hooks. It's gonna happen. It's not the end of the world. Is there a point where you didn't reload during this clip, or does that not happen for later on? Okay, you reloaded directly after that one. I think it's the next fight where it happens, where it's really blatant. Oh yeah, you're reloading right away. Well, it does happen a bit right here. Look how long you sit on 2.
got better red.
So, like, right after you killed the Winston, you could have just taken that opportunity to reload. Better hook to peel to interrupt.
Point.
Okay, yeah. So yeah.
Kill the healer, kill the support.
Alright. There was another thing I wanted to talk about. That's fine, whatever, there's nothing to really coach here. This is like 4 dudes on 1 dude, and like, yeah, you hook him, his hug's an easy hook, and then even the shot's a little better on that one. Yeah, it was like in the neck area, that was a little better. But there's not a lot to coach there, because it's just like, you know, it's whatever. Cleanup situations are very rarely ever, good learning, You know, let me go back to the hog thing for a sec. You see how you move to the right there after you hooked him? It throws off your aim. Watch this. Watch. Let me slow it down for a sec. You're gonna hook him, and then move to the right a little bit. Like you move slightly this way, and it moves your crosshair this way too. And then you have to like flick it over at the last second. The fact that you do that a lot can sometimes make it so that like you end up not getting the one shot, and then the enemy has a chance to get away. It happens once or twice in this VOD. It's better to when you land the hook, it's better to like stop moving right or left, kind of stop for a second, then move straight towards them. Just literally just hold W, and then and then aim for the neck and shoot. It's actually better to wait a small amount of time after that they would normally be able to like move again, like after the stun is done, and get it just like an inch closer, because it's gonna make that spread tighter. But you got to be careful who you do that against, because some heroes like Tracer and stuff like that will be able to recall. Against heroes that don't have cooldowns where they can get away with, it's better to do that, because like, say you just witnessed a Widow use her grapple and then you hook her and you know she can't get away. It's better to just move forward a little bit more just to get the tighter spread. But yeah. Anyway.
Kill the healer, kill the support. No, you don't get out of here.
Okay. So there's something I'm going to talk about later, and I'm going to come back to this hook for it, because there's also another thing I noticed. Yeah, you should always just kind of toss in the melee anyway, just in case. Like, a lot of times I'll get the one shot without the melee, but I'll still melee. Just because, like, I do it like, it's like a boom 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 thing, like the hook, the move forward, the shoot, then the melee. It's like, I don't wait to see if I killed him or not, I queue up the melee beforehand. But, anyway, there's a lot of times where you're not necessarily seeing the target and you're kind of just tossing the hook where you know the enemy is. And it causes you to miss because you're not tracking the target enough with your eyes. And I realize that it kind of sounds weird, like what do you mean with your eyes? But like with Hog, you have to think of his hook as like a projectile, right? Because there's a delay between when you toss it and like it has a travel time. So like if an enemy is moving across your screen this way, you kind of have to meet them where they're going with the hook and put it there and kind of, you know, track the movement. The same way you kind of would with Hanzo Zero, but, you know, kind of different, but basically the same. It's the same concept anyway. There are times when you'll see an enemy very, very briefly and then just toss your hook towards them, and it causes you to miss because you don't track the movement. Watch what happens here. Watch what happens here. Watch your ammo. Ammo's fine. You're using it to kill the brig. I'm not worried about that. Okay, you killed the brig, but now you have no ammo. And you know that the Mercy's on the other side over here, so you're gonna turn around, and your first instinct's like, oh, I'm gonna go turn around and try to make the play. You also don't have your hook yet, so you're forced to like reload and wait. And because you're forced to reload and wait, you have to watch the Mercy's movement, right? She's like, it forces you to sit and watch and like kind of study her movement, and then it gives you time to track it. And because you have time to track it, you're able to make a nice hook, because you can tell like, oh, she's going this way, because she's trying to get out with the rest of her team. So you're able to put the hook in the spot where it needs to be to catch her. Because you had that that 1 second or so where you were forced to sit there and watch her movement. We're gonna come back to this later.
No, you don't get out of here. I'm insane.
It was a good series of plays. You got 6 kills there in that fight.
Today. Keep this up top. Keep this up top.
Alright, you see that shot? Also, you didn't follow that one up with the melee, but that's fine. Sometimes you just forget, but it seems like you usually do.
It's up top. Keep this up top.
Kind of just tossed it out there without really... You kind of knew whereabout he was and just kind of put your hook there.
Keep this up top.
You kind of knew he had to be going that way, so you kind of just tossed it out there, but, you know, whatever. Sometimes you just, in fights like this, you kind of spam it out there and see what happens. Would it be better for you to coordinate with the Orisa and call for a pull, which you do 2 or 3 times in the VOD, but not consistently? But, you know, that's more of a... hey, you know, synergize with your teammates a little better. But whatever, you know, sometimes you just toss it out, realistically. But watch because you're moving around the corner like this. Watch what happens with the aim. Watch the crosshair very closely. Watch the crosshair. I'm gonna mute it because it gets all weird sounding. Yeah, you're checking your shots. Oh, okay. I'm fine with the hook. I mean, it would be maybe better to like wait for the pull and stuff, but like, or like call for it or see if she has it. But you know, sometimes an opportunity just comes and you just go for it. That's fine. That's fine. I'm fine with the hook. But watch the crosshair very closely. Ah, I missed it all. Watch the crosshair after you pull him in. See how much you're moving? You see that? You see how it went this way and then back this way? Do it one more time. It's very kind of jerky, right? And that's fine. Aim can be a little jerky. And my aim, if you slow down my aim, it's not going to look perfect either. But it's the fact that when you're hooking, you're moving side to side a little bit, and you should kind of stop doing that. If you want to pull him around the corner, what you can do there is actually a little different. What you can do is actually turn your mouse.
Keep this up top. Keep this up top.
Because you can pull him, stop, and literally turn your mouse this way, and it'll pull him further because it pulls. You can turn 90 degrees with the hook, and they will follow you 90 degrees, which is why if there's a hole here, say there was a hole right here, right? Like a pit, which is why you can hook and then turn. It's a turn hook. And I've seen you do that before, so I know you know. But you can turn the hook, and they will turn 90 degrees. Now, you can't turn 180 degrees around and have them still turn up on the other side, but you can go from this way to this way. And the reason that you would turn here is, one, so he doesn't collide with the wall here or the pole here and stop, and two, so that you pull him a little further, so that now instead of having to back up this far, he has to back up this far, which is longer. So yeah, so because I see what you're trying to do is you're trying to get around the corner so that he doesn't collide with the pole, but it'd be better to just turn your camera. Yeah, you get yourself into a weird spot because you're moving side, so you have to flick, and then it ends up throwing off your aim sometimes. You know, when you flick, it's not always going to be 100%, which is what, you know, watch what happens with this shot. You end up clipping his shoulder a little bit. And it kind of like, you kind of get it like here. And it's enough to kill him, but that's only because he was half and the rest of was shooting at him and stuff. And, you know, you didn't go for the melee, but that's fine. Sometimes you forget. It's all good. I don't do it 100% of the time either, probably. You basically do it. It's like maybe the one time in the whole VOD that you didn't do it. So like, good mercy. Anyway.
Okay. Up top,
Little
Doofus.
tiny things. Little tiny things. This one is just a matter
Up top,
of...
Doofus. Freaking time.
Remember I was talking about taking that extra hair of a second to move forward just a little more to get the kill? This is the risk you run when you do that. Because if you wait just a hair... There's a forgiving... The other guide says it's a 1/8 second window. The high guide that I was talking about. It's a 1/8 second window where you can... After the hook ends, they still can't use an ability to get away with. But you can move forward just a hair of an inch closer. But if you miss that time window just by a little bit, by 0.1 seconds, this is what's gonna happen. It is good that you peeled for the Ana though. You actually saved the Ana here. This is what I was talking about with peel. You interrupt, right? Obviously in this situation it's a little more obvious because it's Doomfist and it's like, oh well, if I don't stop him right now, he's gonna kill the Ana because his time to kill is faster. But it's the same with anyone, right? If anyone's on your back line or whatever, you hook them to stun them, to interrupt them, to stop their abilities. He's trying to go for a slam or an uppercut or whatever, and you yoink them out of it, right? Now, unfortunately, that time window passes and you miss him, but it happens. But you still save the Ana, so it's still good play.
Careful, careful. Careful, Adam.
All right. I'm not sure if you were moving here or if you just got pulled to the side weirdly. I think you just got pulled in the spot you weren't expecting. I don't think... Trying to watch the crosshair very closely. Yeah, I don't think you actually moved. Maybe a hair? I don't want to spend too much time microanalyzing every little hook, which is getting what this is starting to be. I shouldn't do that. Maybe you moved an inch. I think you moved to the right a little bit, actually. I think you actually did. Let's look at the background and see if the background moves this way more. Yeah, you did move around a little. See how this kind of devolves into a brawl? There's never really a point where anyone... This is still kind of the... If you go back... Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so the first fight is ended, right?
Up top, Doofus. Freaking time.
Everything's very reactionary with you. You're kind of waiting for the enemy to do something and then reacting to it, right? Not brawls. Yeah. Everything just kind of devolves into a skirmish. Anyway, you kind of just look around waiting for something to happen and you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go jump on that because that's there.
Up top.
Look, you can see like you're like thinking about like what should I be doing here? You can even hear it in your voice, like this is the sound of what the hell am I supposed to do? Oh look, perfect, something for me to do. I like that you're aware of like your surroundings, right? It's good, and this is even a good play. But there's very little planning going on before the fight or in between fights where you can be like, hey, this is what I think we should do. Like, let's set ourselves up this way, or let's do this. Let's use these ults. They have this. That does happen in the next fight. But even then, there's no planning. So when there's no plan, all 6 teammates, all 6 members of your team have to, on the fly, figure out what's going on during the fight and figure out what they should do. When there's no one telling them what they should do, or like what's about to come at them, or what we should do as a team. And usually it's the main tank's job, but unfortunately on the ladder, you kind of just gotta do it. Almost no matter what you're playing, because you can't rely on anyone else to do it, because obviously, look, there's 5 other members of your team, and not a soul is doing it. Do I still have this muted? Okay. So what ends up happening is everything just you know, all 6 teammates have to decide on the fly what they're doing, and what your idea of what you should be doing is going to be different from your Anna's or from your Arissa's or from whoever. It's all going to be a little different. So it ends up in this chaos battle.
Careful, careful. Careful, Adam.
Yeah, you did move to the right a little. And then you're like, alright, well, I guess I'll just ult because I'm here now, and, you know, this is where the chaos brought me. As opposed to if somebody had called, like, hey, we're gonna hold this corner over here, or whatever, or, like, you know, but now your team's kind of all over the place. I think you got brick bashed out of it, or hooked out. I don't think you got hooked because, like, you didn't get pulled in. I don't know. Yeah, I guess you got brick bashed right here. There's a brick right there. Anyway. So it ends up in this battle, this skirmish. These right clicks are a little too close. Like, see this right click? I'm sure, Rich, that you are aware of exactly how Hog's right click works. But for anyone who is not, I can briefly mention. Yeah. Okay, like I said before, I already kind of laid the groundwork, so now I don't have to like go so in detail about every little thing. For anyone who does not know how Hog's right click works, here's a gun. Here's his left click. Left click is a normal shotgun. It has a spread pattern that the further it goes out, the more it widens. Like I said before, right? It's a normal shotgun. It has multiple pellets, and you know, if it were to hit this wall, you get like a pattern, like, you know, like this, right? I don't know exactly how many pellets there are. I can't remember. But anyway, that's how his shotgun works. His left click. His right click is different. His right click works like this. It shoots out a ball of scrap that goes a set distance. It always goes the same amount of distance. I think like 10 meters or so. And then that ball of scrap, when it hits the 10 meters, explodes into a shotgun pellet. So it literally travels in a straight line, like this, then explodes out into a shotgun. Right? And then, you know, then it works the same as any normal shotgun would. You still get the pellets, but what you get is, the effect you get is that if you were to shoot it at a wall that's a little further, the grouping would be tighter because the spread doesn't start until 10 meters. It's actually kind of genius, whoever designed this gun. Blizz, it's actually kind of a really cool concept. But if you shoot someone who is too close, they're within that 10 meters, right? Imagine like Genji dash. You would go through, if you Genji dashed, you would go through to the other side. It's about the same distance. If you hit someone who is too close with the right click, that ball that shoots out of the gun, you know, like I said, normally it goes 10 meters and then explodes into a shotgun. But if it doesn't get to travel the full 10 meters, say this happens, it goes this far and then hits someone who's standing here, and the ball of scrap hits them, and it doesn't explode into a shotgun. It doesn't. It's not like the pellets are. The pellets haven't exploded out yet, so you only actually hit them with one big pellet. It's like one big ball of scrap, and I think it does 50 damage, maybe. So you want to really make sure that like you've got those ranges down, because it'd be far more effective to just left click this enemy right here. See how you hit him with the right click there, and he's like right next to you. So yeah, this happens. Even I do this, but like I said, this is another thing that like should be careful of. You're hitting this Ryan with the right click that's too close. Did it twice. Right peel. Good job. Fired off like 3 shots there, it didn't matter. This is you know how like you got that part of your brain, it's like fire, and then like Genji deflects, and you like, it takes a second for your brain to like inhibit the fire response, that like your brain is like, oh dude, like we gotta keep shooting, but then there's like that part of your brain is like, wait, we gotta inhibit that, we gotta keep shooting part of your brain that's going off because Genji's deflecting. It's the same concept. It takes you a little long to inhibit that shooting response. You shoot 3 times at this guy who's not even revived yet. Or 2 times. 1 time at something else. Anyway, gotta be a little bit quicker with that, but that's more of a... I don't like to coach in that kind of stuff and be like, hey, you gotta do this faster. Because it's like, that's not really like, that's not advice that's gonna help you. Like, if I'm like, if you're doing a time reaction, a reaction time test, right? Where you just gotta, like, a thing flashes on the screen and you gotta hit left click as soon as it flashes, right? And it's a reaction time test. Me telling you, like, react faster is not gonna make you react faster. So, like, I don't really like to coach in that kind of stuff, but it is something that's, you gotta be a little bit more aware of with this. You know, you can't damage someone when they're revived until, like, a certain amount of time, and it's more so getting down to timing. Because there's a specific amount of time that res, like, where they're invuln, and then, like, once they turn, like, their normal color, now he is vulnerable. So, like, getting that timing down and being, like, more aware of that timing is what I want to coach. Like, yeah. Yeah, the range sweet spots are difficult. Yeah, you have to play a ton of Hog in order to get really, really used to it. And even then, I have a lot of hours on Hog, and I still mess it up. But it is something I want to point out for any... I would feel weird about doing a Hog review without mentioning how his left click and right click are different and when to use them. To be clear, when somebody is within, like, you could right click this Mercy right now and it'd probably be the perfect sweet spot. And you even have the crosshair right on her head. But by the time you get this reload done, she's gonna be in a different spot. Anyway, I would feel weird about doing that and not mentioning exactly what situation you should be using it. And to be clear, if someone is... It is really this simple. If somebody is... let's say this is 10 meters. This line is 10 meters. If somebody is beyond... If an enemy is beyond the 10 meter mark... You fire the right click at them. And then it bursts, right? If somebody is closer than 10 meters... then you just left click. It is actually that simple. It's just whether or not they are more than 10 meters away from you. And it doesn't really go beyond that. There's no, like, specific disadvantage to, like, other than that. Like, it doesn't use more ammo or anything like that. Okay. Again, let's look at, like, the way you track the Mercy's movements and then fire the hook, right? Let's look at this, because the situation hasn't come up that I wanted to really talk about. You're staring at the Mercy for, like, a good solid second, or, like, maybe even 2 seconds before you actually fire it. Pink stick figures. Nice. Let's go Spark. I'm an NYXL fan, but Spark is the other team I root for. Like, if I'm not watching NYXL, I do also watch the Sparks game sometimes. I take the other team. That's like my backup team. But when you're able to kind of track their movements, think about it like, you ever play those old games where it's an FPS game and, like, you have a rocket launcher and the enemy team has, like, a vehicle or something like that, and the rocket launcher has to, like, lock on and it takes a second? Think about the aim with the hook that way. The longer you sit here and just read the enemy Mercy's movement, the higher your chance of hitting the hook. You're staring at her for, like, a full second and a half or so before you actually fire that hook. But it's the same problem as before, right? You're moving too much after the hook, and it causes you to have to do this weird kind of rotating flick thing. That's okay. You're not gonna... These right clicks are so hard to hit. That one, the Orisa actually pulled... The Orisa pulled the Hog, the Hanzo in a weird way, and it made... Yes, that's not your fault.
Okay, we're gonna have Earth Shatter.
This is the one time you do this.
And dragons, I believe.
You know what? A great tip I've heard before, like a coaching tip for Overwatch is, just in general, it's not even a hog tip. Literally hit tab more. The more often you're hitting tab, the more often you're aware of like what ults you have, and the more often you're like actively thinking about what they have. And it forces you to be like, oh hey, like this is what we have to work with, and this is what they have to work with. When you hit, like, just literally get in the habit of hitting tab more often. Not in the middle of a fight, but like whenever there's a down second or whatever, or like this, like where there's nothing going on because the fight's over, get in the habit of hitting tab and looking at it. Don't look at this garbage. This is all garbage. I don't give a shit about this. It's all crap. This is cool, but it's also garbage. Don't look at that. This is good. Hit tab more. Yeah. It forces you to do this. Like, this is the one time you're really, like, hitting tab, and then look what happens, right?
Or Earth Shatter, and dragons, I believe, guys.
Yeah, it forces you to be like, look at their team comp and be like, hey, what did they use and what haven't they used in a while? What have I not seen in a while? And, like, your ult tracking doesn't have to go beyond that. It's a plat VOD, so I don't want to talk too much about ult tracking. I'm not even really gonna harp on it. Or like, oh hey, you should have known that he had blank 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 ult ready. Yeah, Coach say a lot of you. Yeah, I love you too, dude. You know, I appreciate all of my viewers. You guys are the best. Really, you guys are awesome. But I lost my train of thought because of the positivity. I'm not gonna care if you're like get caught off guard by an ult because it's a platinum game, but like, just hitting tab more often is gonna force you to do this, and you knowing what they have is gonna make you play a little different. Now, you could have taken this a step further and been like, hey, you know what, they have Shatter, let's hold the backside a point so that we create maximum distance from the other Rhine, so that, you know, we have more time to burn his shield, so, you know, he can't just, you know, come up and walk past the shield and shatter, or, you know, whatever. But you could have taken it a step further, but really it's still a step in the right direction, and you should do this more. The problem I saw with this isn't that it didn't happen, it's that it didn't happen enough. This is the one time in the VOD I think I can remember it happened. Maybe you did in the second round, maybe? I watched this VOD like 2 or 3 times already.
So, yeah, just be mindful of it. Yeah, Reinhardt just cornered up.
Now, like I said, you didn't really form a plan, you just said what they have. There's a difference. It'd be better to form a plan like, hey, we're gonna hold back here, we're gonna focus the Rhine shield and make sure that he can't advance on us. Then we're gonna pull someone with the Rissa whole, you know, thing and get a pick. Excuse me. Make distance. This is the way bunker works, right? This is the way bunker works, and I'm talking about bunker as in like Orisa plus whatever the hell else that's like an immobile comp that you're generally trying to hold one spot. Keep enemies at arm's length. You cannot let them get into you. This is bad. This is bad. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about this because, again, it's a plat game, right? There are other things. There are other more deeply rooted issues for me to pull at. This is advanced type of like team composition stuff. But as a general tip, when you're playing with bunker, try to keep enemies at arm's length, because your advantage is spam. It is like damage spam and shield break and the ability to hold down a spot, right? Now when I say ability to hold it down a spot, I don't mean stubbornly just sit here and let them walk into you. Death Ball, which is what Ryan is running right here, they're all running in a ton. All right, hang on, I'm getting ahead of myself. There are 3 major types of compositions in Overwatch. And I know Rich knows this because we've talked about it at length before. But it's going to be bunker, and bunker is going to be like a very, and usually revolves around the main tank. The main tank is the one who really sets the composition. Bunker is going to be like with Orisa, where you're just going to hold down a spot, and like maybe you're going to go Orisa plus Bastion plus Torb, and you're going to put that all behind the shield, and you're going to like sit in one spot and just spam the hell out of them from one spot, not really move around too much. That is bunker. Death Ball is where you all cluster up with like Reinhardt, Lucio, Brig, Zarya, and stuff like that, and Reaper maybe, or something like that, and you move it's kind of like Bunker, where you're like holding down a spot, but you're constantly moving forward or like whatever. And so like Reinhardt is good with this. Reinhardt's composition, because he can move that death ball. It's like literally it's called death ball because it's like a ball of death, because you're all so heavily grouped and moving. And you try to brawl the enemy. You try to get into the enemy and brawl them. That is what they are trying to do to you. They're trying to get into you and to brawl you. And dive is with like Monkey or Hammond and usually Diva and stuff and Tracer. And you know, you're literally trying to dive the enemy. You're trying to go from one spot to all of a sudden now you're all enveloping the enemy and moving. That's maximum mobility. Death ball is kind of an in-between of like Bunker and mobility, where you like get, you know, you're moving a little bit, but you're also kind of holding down a spot, and then you're trying to get into them to brawl. And Bunker's just totally immobile, like we're gonna sit here and we're gonna do damage. Which is why, if you're gonna choose a spot to sit, especially against Death Ball, it needs to be a spot where they're going to have trouble getting to you to brawl you. Which is why you want to keep them at arm's length. Which is why you might want to sit back there, all the way on the other side of the point, so that it forces them to walk through all of your spam, and Reinhardt's shield will not last long. Whereas right here, he's fine. He can just dip behind a corner and he's good, and then he can just brawl you again. You want him to walk towards you the maximum amount of time. Tactical retreat. So like, even if you were set up here, when they get close, what you do is, as a risk, is like pull them away with your hold, literally pull them backwards, and then be like, yo, we're gonna rotate back, we're gonna move back, and then everyone moves back, and you create more distance. You just put down a new barrier. Now all of a sudden, instead of your barrier being here, it's here, and now you've created that arm's length again. You just want to keep doing that. When they get close, you go back until eventually you spam them enough to win. Anyway, that was a bit of a tangent that had nothing to do with this VOD. Well, I had a little bit to do with it, but like I said, you called out what ults they had. They even did the Hanzo ult right after you called it, and he definitely has shatter. He's about to shatter. I don't remember what else you called out. You called out something else. A Valk, I think. But yeah, but you didn't take it a step further and plan. But that's okay. Alright, we're just gonna focus on more tangible things. Watch this. Watch this. This is, remember the mistake I was talking about not like tracking the enemy long enough and just trying to flick and hook? Now this time you're about to be frozen, so it's a little okay, because you're worried about getting the hook off before you get frozen. But this is what happens when you don't really watch an enemy's movement. You kind of know where the Mei is because she's walked past you. Like, she's gonna walk right past you, so you kind of know whereabouts she is, right? But when you don't have time to like track an enemy's movement and really watch them and like look at them and aim, then this is a result. You could argue that maybe you would have hit it if she hadn't gotten slept, but I don't think so. I think it was a bit high. I think it ended up here or so. Hard to tell. I think it was too high.
Sleeping, Mei is sleeping.
So that's okay because you thought you could one-shot her. But you should go for the head in that situation when you have time to line it up like that. I also think maybe the bench might have helped her a little bit.
Sleeping, Mei is sleeping.
It's a little weird. I think some of the pellets actually hit the bench. Anyway, that's fine. I mean, it'd be better to count down and be like, hey, I'm going to damage her in 3, 2, 1. This way the Ana can damage her at the same time. This is synergizing with teammates. You didn't call for any Orisa pulls plus hooks in so far in this VOD. You do it in the second round. Think about where I want the team's bunker, especially. Yeah, after a team fight. After the team fight is when you have a chance to like really plan the next fight, and how you position yourself at the beginning of the fight is going to set the tone for the rest of the fight. So that's very important. Whereas you get in Platinum, people kind of just default to like holding right at the choke, and that's just kind of what they default. But then like when the Reinhardt walks into them, then they're like, oh well, we lost the fight. What happened? Where's my heals, or where's this, where's that? It's like, well, you let Deathball walk into the entire team easily because you instead of setting yourself up at arm's length, you set yourself up at Pinky's length, and they just walked into you. What do you want the healers to do? What do you want the DPS to do? You know, anyway. Yeah, take that time to reposition and plan out the next fight. That is going to help you the most. Anyway, I'm fine with waking up to Mei, but you should have counted it down.
I can't finish her off.
Honestly, when I saw it, I thought you were going to be able to one-shot her. She had a little bit of armor from Brig, also.
Reset.
So you called for a reset, which is good. Shows you've been paying attention to my VOD reviews, by the way. But then you didn't take the door out. Like, you tried to walk all the way. Watch, you call for a reset, and instead of, like, going the obvious way and backing up this way, and, like, going all the way out, you, like, try to get all the way over here or something. I don't know what you're doing.
Reset.
It seemed like a brain fart to me or something. I'm not really sure.
Reset.
You try to go through that way? I don't know.
All the way back up.
Yeah. Anyway. Be a little quicker with that, or else they're gonna a better team's gonna steamroll you there because they're gonna be like, oh hey, look, this hog didn't retreat right. Stagger him.
Guys, I need you guys to help. I need your help burning the shield upon him, and then we're gonna push it.
All right. You made a plan. That's. It was a brain fart. Yeah, I figured. I think you were so in your own head thinking about what just happened that thinking about what you wanted to do that you missed your opportunity to get out, but they didn't push you anyway. So.
Guys, I need you guys to help. I need your help burning the shield upon him, and then we're gonna push it.
Okay. It's a minor plan that doesn't have a lot of depth to it. It's not like, hey, we're gonna do this, then we're gonna do this, then we're gonna do this. But like, it doesn't really need to be that. Like, literally, hey guys, let's just go put everything we have on the Reinhardt barrier, help me break it, and then they're not gonna be able to do anything, and we're gonna push in, and we're gonna take the fight. That, like I said, just commit to something. Just commit to something as a team. It doesn't need to be the best plan. It doesn't need to be an amazing plan. It doesn't even need to be technically the right choice. As long as you all commit to it together as 6. You think these guys are talking about any kind of plan? Absolutely not. Hell no. Well, you didn't fail at your own plan. You actually do break the Rhine barrier, but you kind of pushed them. You kind of pushed them so far out of the way that you can't follow up on any of it. But it's okay because you've created arm's length now. Look at this. Whether or not you intended it, you have created arm's length for your team, for your bunker team. Now you guys can go down here and set up a bunker here, or set up a shield here, or whatever, and take the fight at arm's length and spam them. Or they're gonna go around this way. Oh, let's change up the. So you're gonna push them all the way here, and they're gonna come back through this way, right? If you set up the barrier here, you've created space. You have created tons of space for your team just now. You can set up the barrier here. And now they are forced to walk into your spam. And now you've taken control of space. So it's not a terrible plan. And you didn't fail at it. Just, I don't think you guys really capitalized on it enough. Because exactly what I just said happened. Watch.
They're all pushed back.
They're coming through here. This is the way they're going to come. It's partially not your fault that the Arista doesn't come in and just immediately put up a barrier here, and that you guys don't focus and kill this Hanzo fast enough, so it creates too much of a distraction and allows the other team to reposition themselves and get on you. But let's go back in that hook. See how you didn't look at him long enough and track the movement until you miss? Watch this.
They're all pushed back.
He's in the corner of your screen, you're like, ah, he's kind of vaguely over there, I'm just gonna... You didn't put him at this... You ever watch people play with an eye tracker? And you can see, like, a lot of times they tend to just look here, or they, like no matter what, they tend to look there. Like, say, if you were watching this, right?
They're all pushed back.
And you'll, like, see, like, the person's, like, kind of looking here. And out of their periphery, they see this going on over here. And then they just kind of... So what you're doing is you're kind of, like, looking here and whatever. You've got to focus your eyes on the enemy, even if it's not in the center of your screen. Then drag your crosshair over to where the thing is, stare at them for, even if you gotta stare at them for a second to just like get a feel for which way they're moving, then hook. Literally take the time to aim more. Like, I know that sounds kind of like a forehead, but you're trying to like make a play too fast. Hanzo's not going anywhere. He's not gonna get out. Yes, he can try to wall climb up. If he does, it's gonna be super easy to hook him because it's such a linear path and so slow and predictable that you're just gonna hook him, no problem. So like, don't worry about it so much. Like, take the time to like sit there, look at him, then fire the hook. Jump the gun on your hooks. Don't slow your aim. Yep. Take time to literally like look and like make sure you're lining it up. Okay. Now, but well, actually, it ends up that they were a little slow in their rotation and they didn't envelop you as fast as they could have. But look at what happened, right? I would argue that you guys win the point because of I think you guys win this fight. Because the fact that you pushed them over there and now they have to come back through this way. And you guys have set up here. Look at that. And the Hanzo didn't... the Hanzo was out of position again. Like I said, they're not committing to any one thing. They're not on the same page over there.
Right.
Hogs on the right. Hogs within.
Call out the Ryan. Hey, everyone, let's just get the Ryan. As long as you guys are all commit to something. Like, hey, let's just kill this Ryan as fast as we can. Again, look at this. Look at this hook.
Right.
Hogs on the right. Hogs within.
You know that the hog, you hear the, strap going into the gun and the whole hog start. You can hear it. You can hear the audio cue. And you know it's to your right.
Right.
Hogs on the right. Hogs within.
You just heard it, right? You're gonna flick over there and just send a hook that way. You didn't really take the time to like settle down your aim and really see, because it's one thing to know where he is, but like I said, the hook is a projectile, right? It has travel time. So he was here, right? So you threw the hook there. But you didn't take the time to see which way he's moving. He is moving across your screen this way. So if you had taken the time to look at him and then watch his movement, you would have known, hey, I need to put the hook more here to intercept him. But you kind of just YOLO flicked it around. You had plenty of time. You still have your heal off cooldown. Like, you didn't have to panic this hard. But whatever, he dies anyway. That guy just melts.
Oh my god. Oh
I
my
can't
god.
get out of it.
There have probably been a few times where you missed reloads that I didn't point out because I forgot about it. I'm trying to
I
think.
can't get out of it.
You know where May's behind you, more or less. Yeah, you kind of spend enough time kind of seeing her and like seeing which way she's moving. So like, look how much more successful it is that way.
Slipping. Fuck you.
Hanzo on the other side. Right, focus right. Everybody focus right. Focus on.
I like your communication. It's really good. Like, yes, it's kind of obvious because Ryan's the only one there aside from, like, it's just Ryan and Hog, and Ryan's the closest one. But even just that saying, like, listen, like, there's a Ryan and a Hog there. If you had 3 people shooting a Hog and 3 people shooting a Ryan, it's not going to be as good. Like, literally everyone, yo, Ryan, now, like, everything we have on him. Like, it helps. Look how fast he dies because of it.
Frick. Yeah. Fuck.
You think he got booped right when I hooked? Well, is that when, is that with the Hog one? Maybe I didn't account for that.
I can't get out of it. Mercy.
I think the whole Hog is messing with you a little bit, yeah. But even then, you kind of don't take the time to aim it. You kind of just turn around and flick it. And if you had done that, even though the boop happens, you would have had enough time to realize, hey, I'm getting pushed by the whole Hog in this direction. I gotta account for that. You have more time to kind of account for things. Your brain is capable of accounting for all those things. Like, hey, I'm getting pushed this way across my screen. He's moving that way. The hook has a certain amount of travel time, and your brain is capable of accounting for all those things. But you got to give it time to like calculate that stuff, if that makes sense. Not that your brain is a calculator, but anyway, that's my best way of putting it. reasonable. Understandable. Do you even have comms? No. EU. I played once or twice on EU, and just to see like what it was like, and because I've heard all these bad things, and it was just as bad as everyone says it is. 50-50 chance. Yeah. The games I got were bad.
Just like,
All right. It was a great round by
At
you.
one point, we had Matrix up, and on a nano.
I haven't gotten to really talk too much about the heal cooldown because you never really died. So that kind of sucks. But there was enough here for me to kind of point out. There's enough small things for me to look at. But I do want to talk about the take a breather. And there are times when you use to take a breather, when you use your E ability. Let me
When I dropped bongos right
yeah,
after it.
yeah,
and
that was it.
when you use this, yeah, it heals you. Everyone knows. Just want to talk about like, yes, it heals you 300 HP. It also gives you a 50% damage reduction from the moment you click E. I don't think it matters if you start drinking or not. I think you get the 50% right away, more or less like Arista's Fortify. Is that board? I'm not 100% sure on that. Somebody would have to look at that. But anyway, you get 50% damage reduction. So there are times when you want to use it, even if if you're at full health or if you're purpled or something. There are some times where you got to use it just to survive, just to have the damage. Or like if D.Va throws a bomb at you and you can't get away and you're full health, you do it to because you can tank it with the heal and then heal up after. If you time it right. There are times when you don't want to use it and you just want to let your supports generate their ultimate off of you, and save it for a rainy day. But I tend to be generally pretty aggressive with the ability, and I just use it anytime I think I can get ult charge from it to get my whole hog. Anytime I think I can, stay in the fight longer because of it. Or anytime I think I can get it off safely without getting stunned or something out of it. Or even sometimes I'll use it so that the healers can focus on healing the main tank instead of me. If I see that the Ryan is low, or like if say if we have a Ryan and I'm playing Hog for some reason with Ryan, I don't know why I would be doing it. But anyway, say the Ryan is low and I'm low, I'll just use my E and I'll be like, alright, well, you don't have to worry about me, just heal the Ryan. Because the Ryan can't heal himself, but I can. But yeah, so keep in mind it has a 50% reduction, so sometimes even when it seems like, oh, I got a lot of HP, or like, oh, I'm antied, there are times when you want to use it anyway, just to get the damage reduction. But I haven't got a chance to talk about that. I also haven't talked too much about the ultimate, which I'm going to talk about in this round.
the damage was ridiculous.
Yeah, I was right-clicking and I was like killing things with my right click. It was just, whoa.
So like basically you're relying too much. I want to go over some things before the round starts. You're relying too much on a fight devolving into a brawl, and then you winning the brawl in order to win, because you're not playing things out in advance and like positioning yourself as a team accordingly, or like planning. You're moving too erratically after you hook. This causes you to have weird flick moments where you have to like try to micro adjust. Sometimes you try to hit hooks without first reading the enemy movement and aiming. You're not looking for enough opportunities to reload, so it causes you to have weird reload timings or awkward reload timings in the middle of fights sometimes, because you don't use the downtime to reload when you should sometimes. Basically, you're sitting on too low of ammo sometimes for no reason. The rest of the stuff I've written down is like ultimate usage is random and without purpose at times. Positioning stuff, but I'm gonna get into that stuff in this round because it's more prevalent in this round. Whole hog is I'm gonna talk about whole hog's uses. It's kind of a niche ult that isn't that important, but it does have its uses. But you don't have to like save it so much. It kind of, there are some good uses for it, and actually you had a perfect hog ult at the end of the last round to separate from the enemy team, but I don't know if you necessarily did that on purpose.
There's a wall.
Stay behind shield, stay behind shield. Focus the shield. You're nice and low.
So this is what you want to do, right? As in the bunker comp, it's if you're in a bunker comp and you're facing Deathball with Ryan, you've got to get Ryan's barrier low so that he can't push you. If Ryan's barrier lasts long enough for him to get to you, for him to close the distance, because you got, you know, this arm's length, and he's trying to minimize that, right? He's trying to go from here to, actually it's better if I do this. Trying to, you know, make it this and then this, so eventually he's right next to you, right? He's just trying to close the distance. But he needs his shield resource in order to do that, because he can't just walk forward into you, he'll die. So the faster you get down Ryan's barrier before he can get into you, the higher chance of you winning the fight, because either he's just gonna, his shield's gonna crap out right in the middle, like of him trying to close the distance, and he's gonna be stuck out in no man's land like he is now, or you're gonna force him to back off because his shield's too low, or to take cover, or whatever, and then you can reposition. Then you can, like, okay, well, he got a little closer and he's over here now, so we're gonna move to the other side and make him cross this gap. And you kind of just want to keep rotating, so you're like keeping them away. Rip PG stream. Did I say the F word? I said shit, didn't I? But that was an accident. Well, I just said it again. Anyway, shit. We're still in the VOD? What's up, Ryland? Yeah, we are still in the VOD. We are entering the second round. This is a super in-depth Roadhog, where I don't really talk too much about the heal. Take a breather, because Rich sent me a VOD where he doesn't die, so there's been enough mistakes for me to look at. He even told me beforehand it's kind of a good game, but so yeah, you're kind of stuck on no ammo, but that happens. You use it all to get rid of your shield. Sometimes just hooking them in, even when you don't have ammo, is still the right play. Like, his barrier is broken and he's getting to cover. If you wait to reload, he's going to get to cover in time. You need to pull him in and hope that your teammates can follow up enough to kill him, which is exactly what you did. Great play.
Ready for orb?
Break it, break it.
Here it is.
Behind Roadhog, behind Roadhog.
That was like, so it's like the first time in the VOD so far that you guys like actually coordinated a pull. You guys kind of ignored the brig who was right next to you in order to do it, so it was a little awkward. When you guys could have just turned and focused this brig. But you're like, you know what, YOLO, I'm ready for it this time. Let's do the right click thing.
Here it is.
Behind Roadhog, behind Roadhog.
See how you're moving across the right? I don't know if you got pooped or...
Here it is.
Behind Roadhog.
Well, I guess you kind of moved forward and then moved right after you got the shot off.
Guys, Roadhog.
But that was one of those you should have aimed for the upper neck area type of thing, I think.
Behind you guys.
I don't want to spend too much time microanalyzing every hook, though. Although I've kind of done that. Here would be a fine opportunity to use your E. Like, anytime I get to around 300 or so, or like below 400 or so, I'm just using my heal. I'm not going to rely on, like, because if so many things can go wrong right here that it's just better to just constantly be topped off, especially if you're going to be standing out in the middle, like right in front of the enemy's face, or if you're going to be standing out in the middle of the open. It's different if you're behind cover and you're safe and you can let your healers heal you so they get ult charge. But if you're in the middle of the fight, this is an opportunity where I would say it was probably a mistake not to use this, because, you know, things can go wrong. But now you use it.
Mine's one.
I think that's just a miss. Yeah, you gotta talk. You can't wait too long and like really eyeball this up. Like I said, it sounds all fine and dandy when I'm like, yo, line up your shot and like take all kinds of time. But your Symmetra's about to die and you need to hit this hook to save her, so you don't have all kinds of time. This is just a miss. Nothing to talk about with it.
Mine's one.
You're not gonna hit every
Yeah,
hook.
I think
Nobody is.
He's getting healed up.
So
But he has no shield, which is good.
nothing wrong with that.
Stay behind
Buzzer's
Orisa.
ready.
Ready for...
That is the Symmetra's mistake.
There was shield in him full. Ready.
So I like that you're kind of inadvertently telling you what I did. This is another situation where you're hanging out in the middle of the open too long without using your E, so you get a little too low. One juicy right click from this hog and you're dead.
Ready.
But he goes for the hook.
Ready.
I think you were very focused on getting the damage done. I think at this point I probably would have healed. Because,
Still a shield and I'm full.
yes, against this team you're not dying, and, you know, whatever, you don't die here. But who's to say in the next game, this Hanzo that's flanking on the side doesn't hit one of these headshots and you die from 250 damage, or about to go below. Or who's to say this hog doesn't hit that right click? Or who's to say, like, in the next time, it you know, looks all fine and dandy when you don't die, but in a situation where this happens again, but, you know, they hit their shot that time, and you don't die. So you're a little bit too conservative with the E. You don't have to be so conservative with it. And you prioritize getting kills to, there are times when you're like right now, you're more focused on getting this kill than staying alive and using your E and then, you know, waiting for that animation to end and then figuring out a way to get to. So, trying to play too fast at times, can cause that. Yeah, the BAPL kind of forces you, like, hey, like, I need to do the damage now before this window closes. But, like, you should really prioritize staying alive. It looks nice because you got the kill, and that's great.
Ready.
Also, you got the immortality eventually, so, and fine. But
That wall actually just...
you can only work with the information you have at the time, and at this current time, you're at half HP, and there's a Hanzo shooting you in the side, on the right side, and you're standing in front of the entire enemy team without a shield. Every part of my brain is like E right now.
Ready.
Literally just spam E. I don't know what I did. I broke it.
Ready.
Alrighty. Whatever.
That wall actually just saved my life.
Yeah, actually, you're in vulnerability, I
Saved my
think.
life.
Yeah, you're in invul.
That wall actually...
Whatever. Alright, let's talk about Roadhog. This is a little random. It's not from the best angle either. Roadhog actually goes in, like, the way the spread works is, yes, it is a cone, like I said before, like the other thing, but it's not like a traditional shotgun where it's like three-dimensional circle, right? Where if you were to spray it at the wall, it would hit in a circle. Roadhog doesn't work like that. It's actually spread like this. It fans out from your gun in a straight line, across your screen like this. And yes, it fans out. It's like Genji shurikens, basically. Think of it like Genji's right click. But they push you back and there's more pellets. The further you are away, obviously there's damage fall off. And but the further you are away, the more it fans out. Yes, you will push them, but they're not going to be hit by as many pellets, because if they're here and it fans out this way, like Genji shurikens, they're only going to get hit by, you know, a few pellets. Whereas if you're right next to them, they're going to be hit by more pellets because it doesn't have a chance to spread out as much. I'm not saying you got to use it from close range only, but there should be a reason you are using the Roadhog. You want to use it to separate, I guess. And what I mean by separate is either keep enemies at arm's length to push them away like you did before, or to literally isolate an enemy and push him the other way from his team or something. It could work either way. But either way, you're trying to do it to create separation, or to either separating their team from each other, or separating your team from their team and pushing them away. Shield breaking? Literally, there's value in using the Roadhog just to break a shield. Literally, it's like, you know what? If I break this Ryan shield with my ultimate, it is good value, because we'll probably win the fight, because he's going to be stuck on the middle of no man's land with no shield. So, let me go back. I'm at 657 right now. This is valuable. Look how screwed they are, because you're just like, I'm just gonna turn this corner and break the shield immediately. What are they supposed to do? You just started the fight off by like, hey, they don't have a Reinhardt, they have a Reinhardt who's useless now. And they can't take space because they don't have the shield. But they're a comp that needs to take space, they need to aggressively push forward to take space. They need to come around this way and push you. But now the Ryan doesn't have a shield, so they're gonna be forced to wait. So now you're gonna be able to establish yourself on the point. Using it to break, oh, I just got rid of the list, didn't I? But whatever, it's 1, separate, 2, these aren't in a specific order, these are like just the uses. 2, shield break. 3, to counter ults, to push away ults. The biggest example of this is Primal Rage. When I play against a Winston as Hog, I like to save it for Primal Rage, and literally just, because the Winston's coming in trying to disrupt, trying to isolate enemies, trying to push them into corners, or trying to just literally just separate enemies or whatever. There's a lot of reasons you'd use Primal Rage, but he's trying to cause disruption, right? Well, the moment he hits it, I'm just gonna whole hog and push him into a corner, or push him out of the way, or a lot of times you can just straight up kill him and just cancel the entire ult. So, his ult can break sim wall. If you go on, if somebody wants to go on Overwatch's wiki page and look at Roadhog, it'll tell you the maximum amount of damage you can do with his ultimate if you were like point blank under the best circumstances and there was no fall off and you're like right next to things. I think it maybe does enough, or maybe it's like 3,600 or so total. Sim's wall is 5,000 HP. I know that. Yeah, Hardblue seems to use it. Hardblue is really good. But yeah, he uses it to break shields. I know Emong does it a lot too, where he's just like, you know, I'm just gonna break the shield, break the Ryan shield, and like do that. Or you can just literally get an isolated enemy. And yeah, the third use was to cancel ultimates or like blade push around against you. He's blading, so he can't really get value out of his blade, stuff like that, right? The fourth use is the obvious one of like, hey, I'm gonna use it to try to get kills. To either push them off a ledge, or to push them into a corner, or to just use it extremely close range and just get like the full shotgun blast and just kill things. But we'll follow the break sim wall under shield break. So whether or not you can do it, we'll fire a lot under shield break. I think maybe you can break it, but part of me wants to say it's 3,600 damage total, or maybe I'm confusing that with Bara. Anyway. Rich, you forgot one, like, separate, to create separation. But yeah, you got it. Anyway. But this is kind of weird because it doesn't really come... I guess you're trying to break the shield, or you're trying to push them away, but it's so far away that it's like, I don't know, it's awkward. You're kind of pushing them towards a favorable spot, because if they can get into here, then they can get safe cover and safety and recharge their shield. It's kind of awkward. You're not necessarily pushing them directly away from your team. Like, this is where your team's at, right? This is where they want to hold. You want to keep them at arm's length away from your team, but you're kind of just pushing them this way. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You could argue that you could use it to break the shield, but then you stop focusing the shield. You got value out of it by breaking the Mei wall down immediately. Mei wall didn't stand a chance. Nice hook. So, yeah, it probably would have been better served, if you had just used that to just break the Rhine barrier, and like, instead of looking over this way and trying to get kills with it, just break the Rhine barrier. He's so isolated too that you could honestly just break his barrier and your team could just collapse on him. Even though they're bunker, they could just collapse on him anyway. Yeah, she kind of got stuck on the wall or something. But again, it's the erratic. You know, the crosshair is a little erratic when you get the hook. I don't want to back up that far. I backed up a little far. See how your crosshair kind of flicked over this way a little bit for a second there? You want to just literally, like when you get the hook, I almost just stop what I'm doing and stop dead and like look straight. And then just, instead of moving my crosshair around, I literally just hold W and go forward. And then if I have to make a micro adjustment, I micro flick. But like, you're like moving around with your crosshair too much after you land a hook, and you don't need to. And it causes your aim to get thrown off, and you almost don't get to kill because of it. Although, granted, Mei is one of the harder heroes in the game to actually one-shot with your hook. Let me see if I can slow it down. Maybe just so it's not 49-28 overall damage. So almost enough. Literally, a McCree needs to tap it once to break this is to break a sim wall. Thanks for finding that. So yeah, you could use it to break a sim wall. Look at the crosshair. Or did she just get pulled down? And maybe this one wasn't so bad. Maybe she just got pulled down in a weird way. But whatever. We found enough evidence of it in the other hooks. Let's look at it one more time. I can't tell. I want to say that the fact that she went down the stairs threw off your aim, but again, it's almost like you do move your crosshair around a little bit too much, or you move side to side sometimes when you hook, and it throws off your aim. That one wasn't so bad actually. Maybe that one was okay. She looks evil when you kill her. Have you guys seen the Overwatch replay thing? Where you can like zoom in on people's faces now, and like from the recordings, it's great. You can see all their facial expressions. So funny.
Okay, on the right.
All right.
1 second. I got ready for full. So I want to get the rest.
So that time you start coordinating again. Like you didn't start coordinating this round, and even then, you kind of only do it in between fights. But it's hard to do it against Deathball anyway, because it's really hard to separate pulling the an enemy without pulling the Reinhardt too. And if you pull the Reinhardt too, then he's just gonna come up with the barrier. But this would be a great situation to do what you did before and hit tab. Did the screen just shake? I think I just shook my desk. It'd be a great situation for you to hit tab and just figure out what they have and what they're about to throw at you, and plan the next fight accordingly. This is the perfect opportunity to do it.
Top.
Roadhog.
See, like this is a fine non-use of the E, because there's nothing happening and you're safe. Like you can just get behind cover or get behind the shield real quick and let your healers heal you. Now, if your healers already have their ults, which you would know if you hit tab, then you should just drink and get the ult charge for yourself, because otherwise it's just wasted potential ult charge that the Hanzo's going to get his ult off of you. You're not going to get any ult if Ana already has her nano and she's healing you. But that's min-maxing stuff. That's more for the anyway, that's
Top.
Roadhog.
but if I'm gonna do this in-depth of a hug review, I should cover all the bases, right? I did that with the Hanzo and Genji one too.
Shield. Get out of here.
Alright, so when you hear the male, it's a little confusing because like she tosses it from so far away. I think she tosses it like straight up, and then it falls down, and it takes a while to travel to get to you, and you're like panicking because you don't know where it is. You should consider the fact that the moment she throws it, when you hear when you hear Satan make her call out,
Shield.
you gotta know that it's coming to where you are, because this is where the most of your teammates are. It's obviously coming here because this is where your team is. She's going to throw it to where your team is. You need to get away, and you don't commit to it because you're too confused.
Get out.
So you're like, get out, and like you're like, did somebody eat it or something? It would show up if Diva ate it. It would show up in a kill feed. Now Diva should eat this because she has all the time in the world to eat this, but she's off over here doing anti-hog stuff. Yeah. So you didn't really commit. You knew what to do, and then you didn't commit to it because you got confused. Look, you're like, your first instinct is like, all right, I need to run, and then you're just like, all right, well, let's go back. I don't know where it is, so it's gone. The bat bolt saved you here, and also the sim ult helps. Whatever. Also, if you're about to get frozen, if you are imminently about to get frozen, you should do your best. I don't know what I just did. You should do your best to turn your camera 180 degrees so your back is facing them, and look directly at the floor. Just take your crosshair and move it down as much as possible. Turning around and looking directly at the floor is going to hide your head hitbox, and it's going to make it harder for them to kill you. If you're imminent, goes for any hero. If you're imminently about to get frozen, you should do this. Unless for some reason you're trying to die, but none of this matters. That's all a dead fight after that.
Fall back there.
I have 200 IQ, yeah.
Reset.
Yep, this is Roadhog one. Yeah, the delay really confused you.
Back to red.
I think you thought that the diva ate it or something, and then you tried to push out, but like, I don't know. Just mess with you. I could tell it messed with you. Even when I was watching it for the first time, I was like, what the hell? Where the hell did it go? But like, I would have still committed to getting out. I was totally backed out until I saw in the kill feed that it was gone, or that the diva ate it. Because the first thing I did was flick my eyes up to the kill feed and like, did the diva eat it? No? Alright, I'm moving still. But whatever, that was a super confusing
Go.
There's a wall.
So you gotta hook her there. Like right here, look at her face. Look at this asshole. You've gotta hook her because it's gonna interrupt. Remember when I said for interrupt, you can use hook for 3 reasons. Picks is the obvious one. Picks/kills, right? Kills, frags, whatever you want to call them. Heal. To stun someone, to get them away from your teammate on the back line, or to save a teammate, whatever, to help someone. 3, interrupt. This is interrupt, and it's also like a self-peel, because you're about to get frozen, right? And if you don't, interrupt her freeze beam and allow yourself to... The only way you're going to stop her from shooting is if she runs out of ammo, if you kill her, which is what you're going for, or if you interrupt her. The easiest thing to do right now is just to hook her, to interrupt her. You're going to get some damage on her, you're probably going to force her shift cooldown. She already used her wall. And you're gonna thaw out. You're going to stop freezing. Otherwise, you're going to get frozen because you probably won't kill her in time.
There's a wall.
He has no ice for me.
I like that you called out the cooldown. She did use it, right? Yeah, she used it. Yeah. I like that you call out the cooldown.
He has no ice for me.
Like, hey, we can kill Mei now because she doesn't have her thing to keep her alive. Alright. So, we're trying to use hook here for the same 2 reasons I just mentioned, right? Peel and interrupt. That's what we're trying to use it for. But we're guessing. Now, like I said, it's all well and great sometimes where you're like, oh, well, you gotta take the time to aim it and stuff like that. And so I'd argue that this is one I might try as well. But you see the difference? You see the difference between all the hooks that you've landed, right? Your hook percentage is through the roof this game. But the ones that you landed, it's because like you're staring at the enemy and you're like, and you're able to track the movement and then you hook them. The ones where you don't get a chance to do that, and I would argue that this is okay because you have to act quickly to save this diva. You don't have time to wait. But when you aren't able to track the movement, and you aren't even... Now you can track the movement a little bit because you can see the Hog's thing come out. You can see it come out of the corridor here. So you can see Hog moving towards. So you're just like, all right, well, I'm going to throw it here. But then the Ryan came out, and you shifted your crosshair to him. Look where your crosshair is. You let that change what you were trying to do instead of just going for what you originally were going. So there's 2 problems here. Well, it's actually, well, I wouldn't even say it's a problem, but it's just me pointing out again, like, the difference between, like, when you have time to, like, line up a shot and then shoot, and to, like, ow, oh, man. I just cut myself. Whatever. We'll just fight through the pain, right? Oh, you're thinking about the Rhine. Okay. Anyway. But you see the difference when you have time to line things up and, like, watch it, and, like, when you have to, like, try to just know where, like, figure out where an enemy is on the fly and then like try to real quick flick to him. It's just not gonna work. Look at the screen tearing. Yeah, I probably wouldn't went for the hog there. I assume that's what you were doing, and then you shifted over to the Rhine. 1 second. Bleeding for your VOD reviews, yeah, dude. Yeah, it's just rough out here, dude. Yeah. I feel like I'm giving you a lot to remember, but I'm trying to cover all the bases so you guys can. I'm gonna upload this to YouTube. Hi, YouTube. So that you guys can like go over this again, like look at it again if you want, and like be like, oh, what did he say about the 3 reasons I should use hook, or like the multiple reasons that you use whole hog? You can go back and look at it. But yeah. But anyway, so I pointed this out to see the difference there, and like the other thing is like, you kind of. Yeah, more or less weren't sure exactly, you know, how fast he was going to be coming out of there. So like, yeah, you had to guess, but you know, you had to act quickly to save your teammates. And Anna's also in trouble, so I can see you going for the Rhine as well. I probably would have went for the hog because it's much easier hook and it's more reliable, and you're going to probably save the diva if you do it. Or you could have waited for the Rhine to come out a little more if this is what you're going to do. I don't know if you thought he was going to come here. I guess what I would have assumed too. But you could have waited a little bit longer for the shot to become a little bit more easy to track. But I probably just would have went for the hog because he's moving so slowly in such a predictable pattern. Anyway, it's the same concept, right? It's lining up the shots before you shoot. And again, that one, you can make an argument that it's a little different because you don't necessarily have all the time in the world to line up that shot.
Right behind.
Right behind you.
Alright. That's a good example.
Right behind.
Right behind you.
Look how erratic your crosshair is during that whole sequence. Let's just watch the crosshair. Don't look at anything else. I'm not gonna hammer home aim. I don't give a shit if you're Kefri or if you're like this is your first FPS. I don't care what your mechanics are like. I care about decision making. I can't coach mechanics, right? I can't just be like, yo, aim better, dog. What are you doing? Get good. That doesn't help anyone. But what I can do is help you put you in the best position to make your shots easier. And the problem I'm seeing here is that why sometimes you fail to get the one shot here is that you're moving too erratically before the hook. You need to just calm your aim, like literally calm your movement, stop, walk directly forward, and then, you know, you can move the crosshair a little bit upward, or like micro flick, and that's fine. But your crosshair is so all over the place that it forces you to like get in a weird spot and then flick across your screen, and then you end up missing half of your pellets. Like you missed like half your pellets there because of it. I don't care about aim, and you can make the argument you could have hit that flick, right? I don't care about that. I care about making the shot easier for you for the next time, because yeah, you could have probably hit that flick. Maybe 5 times out of 10 you would have. But what about the other 5 times? But if you do it where you stop your aim and calm and you know and you make it easier on yourself, maybe you hit it 9 out of 10 times, and now all of a sudden you're getting a lot more of those kills that might have gotten away in the past. I think you'd end up killing her anyway. I don't see how she'd. Oh, okay. So you tried to whole hog. You tried to panic whole hog to finish the frag, but then you got frozen out of it, so you got interrupted. So that's ult discipline problem. But this is just you trying to get this, desperately trying to get this kill. But this all would have been avoided. Yes, you should have had better ultimate discipline there. I'm not going to hammer that too hard home because it's very obvious what the mistake is here. You could see that with your own eyes. I don't need to tell you that. But The real issue came from the jerky movement when you're pulling in the hook, because it makes it unpredictable where they're going to end up, because you're moving so much. Now you don't know exactly where they're going to be, and then you have to like guess and flick, or react and flick, and it's just not it's just not the same. You don't need to totally stop. Walking forward is good because you want to separate. Because when you hook someone in, they might be here, right? And then you hook them in. They still have a max or a minimum distance that they will be away from you. Like you might hook them in this close to you, right? There's still a small gap, but man, there's still a small gap, but you can minimize that gap by walking forward. What you don't want to do is walk side to side or move your camera a lot around, because then it's just going to make it the aim, because now you're not sure if they're going to be pulled in directly in front of you. Because if you stop and walk directly forward, you know exactly where they're going to be, because they are just going to go in a straight line towards you. But if you're constantly moving, after you hook them, you're moving your camera around this way, and you're like, rotating a little bit. Now you don't know if they're going to end up here, or if they're going to end up here, or if they're going to go this way, and then you have to make a micro adjustment, and then you're making the shot harder for yourself. Make shots easier for yourself. You will hit more shots if you make them easier. Yes, hitting hard shots looks nice, and it's cool for montages, but is it really cool if you're missing them 9 out of 10 times? So, make the shot easy. Make it repeatable. Make it reliable. That's better. Most consistent issue. Yep. It is very noticeable when you really slow it down.
Blocked it.
The guy goes blocked it after he killed the bar.
Blocked it.
He blocked it for himself.
It's just junk and mercy on.
Yeah. I think this just happened to not be a good use of the heal. I probably would have used it too.
Blocked it.
Right click is still a little too close for the right click, but that's fine. It happens. You switch to left click immediately because you noticed it on the fly. I probably would have E'd here too. Then you just happen to get healed by the BAP at the same time. So, see how low your crosshair was there? Go more towards the neck.
It's just
Junkrat is one of the more reliable heroes that you should kill every single time. Like, Junkrat, McCree, Torb are like the 3 most reliable that you should just kill every time.
junk and mercy on.
Just because of the way their hitboxes. Zen is another one. Hanzo's easy to one-shot too. But that shot is really low, and you could have missed through the legs a little bit and missed some of the pellets. So, get your crosshair up a little more.
It's just junk and mercy on.
Oh, he actually, when you hooked him, okay, you know what? I'm not even as mad about this one, because look at where how the hook goes.
It's just junk.
He goes up on top of this bench right here. Watch him go up. But you were aiming for center mass, which again is, I would aim a little higher towards the neck, because it looks like most of the time, if you notice throughout the VOD, your hooks, you tend to try to aim here. Oh no, I guess you were up in the neck. A lot of the other ones you were center mass. Maybe this one was a little better.
It's just junk and mercy on.
Yeah, man, he just like drastically changes on you. Whatever, you got the kill anyway.
Oh, what a rest!
You got the kill, so that's good.
Hey, what? Hey.
Okay, so that was not the best use of your E here. Yeah, yeah.
Hey, what? Hey.
It's a little bit of a waste of the cooldown. You're not going to get punished for it because it's a cleanup anyway. But yeah, you were nanoed and taking half damage already, and then you were also getting healed at the time, and you had the heal on you, so you were fine. You were never going to die there.
Hog behind.
Poor Hog, dude.
Right.
I mean, hey, that was the one time that Ryan ever got the benefit of a bug, so whatever. We're not going to get too mad about that. That is a less of a bug and more of a tick rate thing, where he had a it's supposed to be favor the shooter, but in that specific instance, on his, I bet on his screen he had to shield up way more, like way in time, but on your screen he didn't. So the game has to choose between the two, and usually it's supposed to favor the shooter, but in that instance it did not.
Right.
This is a bug. What you talking about the Ryan thing? It's like I said, it's less of a bug and more of a tick rate problem. But the game is supposed to favor the shooter, so you could argue it is a bug. You are in this instance the shooter. Anyway, whatever. This happens with Hogs hooks a lot, where they disconnect for no reason. Also, with things like Mercy's Guardian Angel can break the hook. Things like Tracer's Blink can break the hook. So like it's like we will clearly hook them on your screen, but then they blink and break it somehow after they got hooked. This is this is just a little unlucky. I'm not gonna hammer home mechanics, but I do want to mention with the whole combo that you're supposed to put your crosshair like where it is going to pull them to, because they do not get pulled into the orb. They get pulled right next to the orb. So you want it to be like there. So a lot of times players don't know the timing of it and stuff. That's something you pick up with time that you eventually just get better at with time. That just takes practice. Yeah, you ended up a little bit wide of it, but again, I'm not gonna hammer home mechanics, and that is something that you will pick up with time. The only real way you can practice that is by practicing with a buddy in quick play or something like Orisa Hog or something, or just like playing Hog a lot. Just trying to train yourself and get better at it. I bet there's a custom game mode for it, actually. If you go into the workshop, into custom lobbies, I bet there's a custom game mode for practicing hooks into a wrestle. It should get to a point where you can hit it like basically every time eventually. This fight is so weird. I don't even know if I'm going to say too much during this fight, because this fight is so chaotic, it's insane. Alright, well, you know what? You gotta go for the head on this one. Look, you see how you're aiming center mass? Roadhog's head is so easy to hit. Just go for the head. You could have killed him here if you just gotten the double damage on these shots. You're trying to go too much for the reliable shots, because you're... I bet it's because you're, in the moment, sometimes you get afraid you're gonna miss. But Hog's head, you're not gonna miss Hog's head. It's so big. Just go for it. And even if you miss... Alright, let's say that you hit 1 out of 2 of those shots, you still would have done the same... Headshots do double damage, right? So let's say you hit all the pellets in the head on one of them, and then you completely whiff the second shot. You still, assuming you hit all the pellets in the stomach, and on the second shot hit all the shots in the stomach. Even the one where you hit 50%, the one where you hit the head and then didn't hit the head, in that scenario, you would have done the same amount of damage. You're only giving yourself more damage potential, and you're not giving up. Like Roadhog's head is going to be hard to miss. You should just go for it. And even if you hit half of them in the head and half of them in the stomach, it's still gonna be better. Go for headshots when they're gonna be that easy. Any situation where you're gonna be able to reliably hit the head, always go for it, because that double damage is gonna matter a lot. Think about it. You did all that damage yourself. If you would hit one of those, if one of those were a headshot, you'd be dead. Here's a question for Frey Chart. How do you keep a calm head and not go into autopilot if you're getting tilted in... Okay, alright, how do you keep... I mentioned this earlier. Hitting tab more often is going to force you to plan more into not autopilot. If you, between every fight, if you just hit tab and hold tab and look at the enemy team and look at your team and look at your ults and think about their ults, it's going to force you to not autopilot. The only other way is to constantly say to yourself, don't autopilot, don't autopilot, don't autopilot. And that sounds like bad advice. The tangible advice, I would say, is hit tab more often. Literally everyone should be doing this. Hit tab more often is going to force you to plan things, because you gotta look at, like, first be like, hit tab, be like, hey, what else do we have? Alright, this is what we can do next fight. We can grab Pulse. Alright, do they have it to Zen? Yeah, they do. When was the last time you tranced? And now all of a sudden, you're not autopilot. Now all of a sudden you're coming up with a plan, because you're like, you know what? We gotta focus Zen, get him to trance, then after his trance, we're gonna grab Pulse. Or actually, you don't really need to wait for trance to grab Pulse, because it does so much burst damage, you'll probably get kills anyway. But, let's say it was grab Blade. That'd be better. Or like, if it was, that they had a Lucio and he has Beat. then that's different, right? Or we gotta focus Lucio, get him to beat so that we can grab Pulse. Or let's say you have Genji on your team. You're like, hey Genji, pull your blade and make him beat. Don't go in, don't commit to it. Just pull your blade and make him beat. Then afterward, we're gonna grab and Pulse. They won't be able to stop it. It's going to force you to stop autopiloting. Literally hit tab. That is my advice. Now, a lot of people like hold W, Kappa. Hold tab.
Winnable. Keep Marissa.
You can also argue that you could have used your E here to survive a little longer, but it would be bad because I would say it would have been bad because he could have interrupted with his hook. Then you'd be screwed. So the only way you win this fight is if you go for the head there. It's a common mistake I see amongst mid-tier players, that they with lower tier it's like, oh well, you can kind of see it because like their mechanics can sometimes, I don't want to say all lower tier players have bad aim. A lot of them actually have decent mechanics and they're coming from other FPS games and they have decent mechanics. But a lot of times when you get to the medium players, they're just like, I'm just gonna go for the reliable shots. And while that's good, there are times when you can get an easy headshot and they just pass it up because they're just so worried about missing that they pass up the opportunity to do double damage.
Hawks 1, Hawks out.
Alright. Man, we're gonna be running on 2 hours for this hog review.
No matter what. Shit.
I like that you're providing callouts during when you're dead. That is really good. A lot of players don't do that. You can help from the grave a little bit. Communication was never a problem with you.
Mercy. May's coming back.
There's obviously some mechanical stuff. You made enough plays in this game to be like, hey, you know what? This is like not your hook accuracy is probably like 80% or something like that. I don't know what it is yet. Now it was 80% before, but this whole hog doesn't really have a purpose. I guess you can claim that it's to counter the Riptire, but a whole hog doesn't do it. You'd be better off trying to right click it. It's going to be hard to kill it with a whole hog. You actually do get some damage onto it, but it gets blown up anyway. And against a better junk, where they come from a better angle, or they're smarter with it, or they know how to zigzag it more, or better junks are just going to be more crafty with their tire, and you're never going to be able to beat it with a whole hog. At least not often, not consistently. If you're trying to use it to counter Riptire, yeah, you might be better off just trying to left click it or right click it. Honestly. So, I do like that you did use it to try to counter an ult, though. It does show that you do kind of understand that concept a little. You almost get it, but like I said, like it's just not done enough damage fast enough. You maybe could have right clicked that, since that. Look at your crosshair, right? Watch the way your crosshair tracks this. Obviously, this is an anecdotal thing, but look at your crosshair is directly on this thing. You don't think if you hit this right click, look how predictable of a path this is. You maybe could have landed a right click on that and then completely bursted it down in one kill, in one shot, and then still had your ultimate. Also, when you're ulting, you can't drink, obviously, and the tire can do 600 damage to you if it's close enough. So you can't drink to save yourself. So if during whole hog, he can actually kill you if he comes in from an angle that you're not expecting, or if he is crafty enough with his tire, or if you don't kill him in time. But crafty junk. Oh, by the way, look at this is a spread. See this? See how it's not a star pattern? It's not a circle, or it's not a cone. It's a straight line across your screen. Anyway, it's a fan. But yeah, it just doesn't do enough damage fast enough, even though he came from a predictable angle. Especially because the fall off is so severe on whole hog that you're just not going to be able to. You'd be better off trying to right click it. Also, not whole hogging this way, you would have your E if he comes in too close to you. But if he comes in too close to you when you're whole hogging, you can also argue that you should be able to kill it because the fall off is going to be severe. Anyway, it's still slow. Let's get through the rest of this. The guy just goes. The guy just yells the F word. You gotta keep it PG. And now, yeah. Now it just becomes a scrappy brawl.
Ahí escondida.
I'm not gonna comment too much on what's happening here because it's just, it's so... After the BAP was healing you, you didn't need to use your cooldown anymore, especially since you're in an invul now. And he's clearly healing you. So you could have gotten away without using your E, and now you kind of don't have it for when I need it, but it's okay. This Ryan just lets you walk into him because he doesn't shield up.
Mercy, what? Yes, we got this.
That was a prime right click territory, by the way. I think that right click would have exploded before it got to him, I think.
Hey, on point. Just the last one.
Yeah, that fight's so chaotic. Yeah, you didn't take the time to line that up either. Same as before, right? You kind of guessing where she is because the Arissa's in the way. You'd been much better off just walking, and you don't really need to peel for the Arissa. She's gonna be fine. Even if she gets dinked right now, she's probably gonna survive. She's like basically full HP, right? Unless I missed something.
Wait, just the last one.
Yeah, the dude's basically full HP. Yeah. But you see how you kind of just have an idea where she is, and you kind of come around the corner and just try to toss the hook? Imagine if you'd waited a second and then just like watched her moving in a very predictable pattern backwards here. Or wait, or literally we can do is Maze will freeze the target and then stand still to aim the right click. And just wait for her to stand still and then hook her. But yeah, take more time to line up the shot. Slow it down a bit.
She's slipping! Kill her!
Lap rolls. Yeah.
Right.
On the one, on the one.
Pull.
Yeah, when you're locked into ult, you can't drink. Yeah. So
Right.
that's something you got to think about before you ult. So let's see where your crosshair is on the hook. I noticed a lot of them tend to be in towards the chest a little bit. Yeah, see all the shots landed here. So I would say go for the neck a little more. That's what makes it so that the melee is necessary. Whereas normally you can get the kill without the melee, but you should still throw in a melee in case you don't finish. But it's because you notice you get a lot of melee kills on your hooks. It's because you're going for center mass, and that extra 30 damage is really required.
Cover the shield. There we go. He's gone.
Close. Nice.
Wait, did you have no ammo? Okay, yeah. Oh, okay. I thought you reloaded, but I guess you canceled it just a hair too soon. You can animation cancel this, but this is okay. Like, man, it actually looks like you put the scrap into the gun. Usually it's the moment you put the scrap into the gun that you can cancel. But, for whatever reason, it looked like you put it in and then you didn't get the ammo. It looked like you were expecting to shoot, too. Yeah, I thought you would have had that.
Nice.
Anyway. Patience with hooks. Instead of use W. Yep. Also, sometimes you're throwing out the hook before you're really, aiming it, or like, yeah. Alright, so let's talk about everything we just talked about again. Let's go back to the beginning. No, I'm just kidding. There are times when you don't take the opportunity to reload. I really didn't pause it on when I was watching it by myself before a few times, I was like, oh, I'm gonna pause it here, and here, and I just didn't do that. But, there are times when you sit on too low of ammo for too long. Just put it out there. Just use the window of opportunity, kind of similar to when you're recharging a Rhine barrier, when you have an opportunity to kind of back off and do that. Take that opportunity when it's there, when there's nothing else going on. So you're trying to hit hooks without first reading the movement and aiming. Like I said, like you see a flash of someone there, you know someone's there, and you kind of just yeet it over there, and you should take the time and like really, unless you need to use it to peel like right now, or you need to interrupt something right now, then yeah. Frag a slam, dude. What's up, Strawberry? Anyway, yeah, you move too erratically after you hook. I probably paused it like on 10 different occasions, maybe even more. Of hooks like that. Let's see if we can get your stats up.
Let's
Hit tab.
go. Oh,
65% hook accuracy. It ended up being, you were at 80% at some point, but it's fine. That's 65 is really good. It's actually really, really good. 11.6k hero damage in a 10.5-minute game or whatever. It's awesome. Great stats. 45-2. It's obviously a great game for you. But yeah, so yeah, I would go for the neck a little more and stop aiming so much for the center mass. Ultimate usage is random and without purpose is another thing I noted. Like I said, just see that for shield break, separation, countering an ult, like pushing around a primal, something. Or what's the fourth one I said? Oh yeah, just like, you know, if you're trying to get a kill and like there's someone who's isolated, or if you're like, you know, there's someone in a corner that you think you can kill up close with it. Which those situations are few and far between. More often than not, you're just gonna use it to wreck shield or something, or to create space. Yeah, and then you rely on devolving into brawls to win fights. That's only gonna work half the time. If you have the team that's better, you know, that's mechanically better, then that'll work. If you don't, then it won't work. So what you need to do is, between fights, you know, hit tab more often, come up with a plan instead of waiting for it to devolve into a fight and into a brawl. Come in with a clear plan for the fight. And you can do this by hitting tab more often and, like, you know, working around what ults they have, working around what heroes they have, what abilities they use, what ultimates you have, stuff like that. What abilities you have. It changes depending on many factors. Maps matter. But yeah, this way fights don't devolve into brawls. You'll win them more decisively before the brawl happens. Once it devolves into a brawl, then it's just whatever team is mechanically better is going to win more often than not. And the other thing is, yeah, so don't be afraid to use your hook just to, like, even if you can get a kill without it, don't be afraid to use it anyway, just to, like, peel for an enemy to make sure that they can't damage for a second, or to, like, stun them, or to interrupt something. Anyway, but that's more minor. Yeah, so that's basically it. I hope that was good. I hope that helped. I know it was super long, 2 hours and 5 minutes. But, I thought that was good. I thought it was good. I thought we touched base on everything I wanted to touch base on. We didn't get to talk enough about whole Take a Breather, but Take a Breather is kind of an easy ability anyway. It's like if you're taking a lot of damage and you're getting focused and you're low, use it to heal up. If you can get by without it and your healers are healing you, or if you're safe, then don't use it and let your healers heal you so they get ult charge. Unless they have it already, then use your ult, then use your heal to generate your own ult charge. Yeah, it's pretty simple. If you have your own ult, then let your healers heal you so they get theirs. Especially that. Huge help. You're welcome. That I had to. So because this was such a good game, I mean, you went 45-2, and you had crazy amounts of damage for a hog in 10 minutes. That's nuts. So because it was such a good game, I have to, like, delve a little deeper to try to, like, really get in there and find the mistakes. And that's when I have to start slowing things down and, like, looking at very small mechanical issues. But you still see some things like positioning to start fights and stuff like that, and you know, the stuff I pointed out about, like, not tracking movement. And like I said, I'm never gonna be like, oh, you missed a shot, you should have hit that shot. It's more like, hey, this is what you did to make the shot harder for yourself. This is what you can do next time to make a similar shot easier for yourself. So yeah, I don't care about mechanics. I'm not that mechanically good, and I'm a grandmaster, so, and I can play hot aim intensive heroes too, even though my aim isn't that great. It's probably maybe slightly above average. I don't know. But it's just because I make the shots easy for myself. I know how to do that. Los Gaia is still pretty good for goats. Oh, you guys talking about goats? You find that goats is still really strong? Yes, it is. But you have to know. You have to have a team of really good players in order to really run it efficiently. If players don't know what they're doing in goats, then it's very easy for them to just throw. Goats is not as simple as people give it credit, or as people claim it to be.